hey, thanks for checking out the video. If you all like it, please like and subscribe, and hope you all enjoy it. Have a great rest of the day.
But I don't know if they go this far up, you know.
Yeah, I got it. Are they going to go fast or not? Yeah, even the horses are bobbing fast. I think they want to get
Now that they want to get out there. Yeah, bring it in. Where did you listen? Somebody dropped it in that box. Is that it? Okay, I got the map.
Left wheel! Left wheel!
wheel attack. So they're all lined up and then they'll say
Wheeling around.
to emphasize which way to go so all horses can follow.
How does it stay right here?
Right wheel. Right wheel. Morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Morning.
Morning, afternoon, whatever it is. How y'all doing? Good. So what you're seeing right now is a demonstration of cavalry. We are, our official title is we're the 3rd Light Dragoons, which means we're an American unit, normally, but because people on horseback that do this hobby are rare, we also switch it, and I'm dressed as a Legionnaire, a British Legionnaire, of Tarleton's Legion. Anybody from South Carolina's probably heard of Banastri Tarleton because we all learned about him when we were in 3rd grade, right?
Yes.
Biggest bad guy you could ever find, right? They even tried to make him part of the Patriot. They just called him a different name, right? So we're wearing green, which is known as provincial green, right? The British Legion, although known as the British Legion, was actually all Americans, born and raised, all Americans, with the exception of Tarleton himself. Most of the people that were in the British Legion were from New Jersey, Maryland, North Carolina, and South Carolina. And we were fighting for the crown because that was the stable form of government that we understood. And we didn't want to change at all right? So, might have been the bad guy, but we're all Americans, all right? So what you're seeing is they're drilling right now and working the horses out, getting the horses used to seeing each other, smelling each other, and drilling together again, because we do this quite a bit, right? Oh, by the way, this is Rock. This is Rock. Rock, say hello, Rock. Right. Right. But yeah, Rock and I have been riding at reenactments now for about 14 years. He's been doing it with me together. A little story about him. He was I found him at a kill auction. The lady that owned him decided that he was dangerous and was going to kill somebody, and he wasn't dangerous. He was a little aggressive when he got scared, but he wasn't real. I didn't think he was that dangerous, and he and I kind of got together and we decided we'd do this hobby together. So now Rock's been all up and down the East Coast. He's been in movies and TV shows. He's in Wonder Woman 2. Oh, wow. He was done all kinds of stuff.
How old is he?
Rock is about 17 now. He's about 17, right? But yeah, so what you see is mobility in the 18th century. South Carolina, North Carolina, and places like that, we were the sticks. When you think about South Carolina in the 18th century, you need to think about the time, about where Camden is, right? That was the extent of civilization, right? That was the extent of civilization. Once you get past Camden, you got up here. This was known as the backcountry. This is why it was known as the backcountry, right? People up here were still worried about Cherokee raids, right? Because that wasn't that long ago. It was in living memory where Indians were still raiding this part of South Carolina, right? You're right, they're right behind you, all right? So a horse gave you mobility. A horse could keep you moving. In a military sense, horses provide a shock value, all right? So in a military sense, a soldier that's on a horse, like myself as a dragoon on a horse, excuse me, think of this as a weapon system. The horse, me, and my saber. That is a weapon system. You see how everybody is stirrup to stirrup, boot top to boot top, drilling all in the same manner, trying to move the horses all in the same way. Now imagine, this fence wasn't here, and imagine you were standing in this line and just the 6 of us came across that field at a dead gallop with swords in our hands coming at you. Y'all are a big mass of people. Do you think you're going to stand up under that? We're just 6 people. You think you're going to stand up under that? So what you have is psychologically, I'm sitting on a step ladder. I'm taller than everybody. Psychologically, I'm bigger than you, right? The other thing is I have this, right? That's a crowbar. It's not very sharp, right? It's a little crosscut saw because it's hit other sabers. Not very sharp at all, right? Not very sharp, right? Now, if I'm a horse at a gallop is going to roll about 25 miles an hour at a good clip, Now think about it. If you're right here next to me and I just go like this at 25 miles an hour, don't even swing it. Just go like this, put it out there, and swat somebody in the side of the head or swat somebody in the arm, bones are going to break. The sword was the primary weapon system of the dragoon. William Washington, who we all have heard about, who fought it, who was a great hero at Cowpens, Battle of Cowpens here in South Carolina. There you go. Imagine that coming at you. William Washington stated to his men that nobody shall pull a pistol on pain of death, and the dragoon's primary weapon will be totally relied upon as the saber. Right?
That'll work. We're here.
So, the dragoons were used as shock troops. Right? Dragoons can take ground. We can run people away. We can make people hear mama calling and go home, right? So we can take ground. One thing we cannot do is hold it. You can't hold the ground. Once a horse takes the ground, all right, now we're going to do with it. Because we don't have anything that can hold it. We don't have artillery. We don't have muskets. We got pistols, right? But you know how accurate that is? About as accurate as from there to the ground. That's a smooth bore 69 caliber flintlock pistol that has one shot. I'm carrying two for a reason, because I get two shots. It fires one shot. Now think about this. If I'm charging at you and I pull my pistol out thinking I'm gonna John Wayne it, and I decide to shoot somebody with my pistol, what other weapon do I have with everybody, all your friends? I don't have another weapon, do I? I ain't got to reload that. I don't have to reload that at all. I can just go through like a Ginsu, la machine, slicing and dicing, right? So dragoons, when you see dragoons come into their own in the American Revolution, it's kind of fascinating, because up north with Washington and Gates and everybody up north in the Battle of Saratoga, and of course everybody thinks that the war was, won up north, which is a lie. It's a straight lie, because everything that you learned in high school history about the American Revolution, you were lied to. I'm just going to let you know now. It were all lies. The American Revolution wasn't won until the British tried to come south. And when they came south, we brought it. We sent it. We sent it hard. And the Brits couldn't keep up. Why? Because they were in the backcountry. Why? Because we rode dragsters. Because the horses we had down here, the horse flesh that we had down here, the British were covetous of. It was one of the reasons they came down. They wanted to get new horses. We used to race horses down here. We still do. We were racing horses. There's racetracks all over Charleston. You can find Charleston. You can find newspaper articles in the Charleston Mercury about thoroughbreds standing at the stud. Are you going to get? Yeah, that's not cool. That would have been ugly. But yeah, so we could outride, right? And our horses would outmove the British. Well, the British had a problem. They had to figure out how do we become mobile. So here's the British Legion. Well, the British Legion wasn't the only mounted troops down here. We don't have an example. Sometimes we do. We don't have an example, but there was also the 17th Light Dragoons, or the 17th Dragoons, which were British. They look like you would think a British Dragoon should look like. Wearing red coats, right? Leather helmets like we're wearing with a big plate on the front, big red plume on it, and right in the front was a skull and crossbones that said death or glory. And that was terrifying. Interesting thing now is the British Army, if you look at them, the British Army's armored troops, on their beret cap badge, they wear skull and crossbones with death or glory still on it. Served with them in Afghanistan. It was pretty, it was like, hey, I know you guys. My dudes fought your dudes. All right? The American Revolution, though, I mean, when you look at the mobility at that point, is everybody familiar with the wax saws not far down the road from here? Everybody heard about the wax saws because we all went to South Carolina history and we're in 3rd grade, right? The wax saws, Tarleton was told in Charleston by Cornwallis, hey, go run down this one Virginia unit. Go run them down. We know they're on the way. It was commanded by a guy named Colonel Buford. And Colonel Buford had his Virginia regiment, and Tarleton left Charleston, and he made it up to Waxhaws in 2.5 days. 2.5 days. Think about how far it is from Charleston to here.
45 minutes.
Yep. Yeah, right. I want to be driving what you're driving.
Oh, no, you said Charleston. I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about here.
No, Charleston, South Carolina. Yeah, Charleston, South Carolina. No, when they took him 2.5 days on horses. And think about this. He was riding he put his infantry on double. So he's riding 2 guys on a horse. You know? And you got to think about the horses. Yeah, I told you this is Rock. He's my boy. All these horses, they've all met. We all know each other's horses. We take care of each other's horses if doing something stupid on the line or something like that. But back then, a horse was a tool. A horse was nothing but a tool, right? How many horses in history you know the names of? I can tell you one. You were killing me, dude. But I can tell you the name of one. It was Francis Marion's horse was named Ball. Right? There's one. You know what George Washington's horse name was? No, I don't either.
It was white.
He was white, and one of them was Bay. Right? He had a couple. Right? We know that, I mean, if you want to go history, just straight history, we know Robert E. Lee's horse was named Traveler.
Yeah.
Right? You know, Charleston's probably named his horse number 5 or 6 because they used to ride him until they almost died. A horse on campaign is good for about 5 months, maybe 6. If you're riding hard all the time, doing nothing but cutting and running in the campaign season this time of year, by the time that 5 or 6 months is up, that horse is burned down, and you need to find a pasture just like that over there, turn him loose, and let him heal up for the next 2 or 3 months and put weight back on and get back where he's at. All right? But, like I said before, the horse is an entire weapon system. And a lot of people ask us, all right, well, how do you get a horse to charge gunfire? How do you get a horse to stand a cannon? How do you get a horse to deal with a bunch of people on the field? How do you do that? Well, if you look around right now, he calmed down after they all rode up behind him, didn't he? Because they're herd animals. And what you do when you're in the Dragoons is you are actually harnessing the power of the herd. Now imagine we're 8 men in front, but there's 4 ranks of us, of 8 behind. That's about a troop of Dragoons, right? We're charging, everybody else is shooting. What do you think the horses in the front, they can't stop. Because a horse right now can see with he's looking forward. You think he's looking at this lady right here, sitting down. You think he's looking at you, right?
Yeah.
He's not. He's looking at everybody else. Because a horse can see all the way back to his hips, all at one time. And a horse can't see about 12 inches in front of his nose. He's blind. He can't see that. That's why he feels around with his lips for grass. But a horse sees everything all at once. And a horse is absolutely terrified of his own shadow. So what's their first reaction to everything that scares them? Run away. Second reaction is to kick it. Third reaction is probably to bite it, right? First thing they're going to do is run away, and they're going to get all the way across the pasture, and they're going to stop, and they're going to turn around, and they're going to blow at it, and go, what was that? Because they don't care what it was. They're just getting away from it. Because horses are food for lions, tigers, and
Bears.
yeah, thank you. Bears, right? They're food. They're prey animals. It's like imagine an antelope that doesn't have horns. That's what this is, right? And they let them ride us, and it's kind of amazing. Most symbiotic relationship on the planet. You know, people think that dogs are man's best friends. Get on a horse, and I'll argue with you. I love a dog. I got dogs. I love a dog, right? But a dog every once in a while don't wander off on you. A horse gonna be there. A horse will stand there for you. A horse is like it's the most partnered relationship in the animal world that a human being can have, right? Anyway, imagine you're charging at this line of men. How do you get the horses in front to stay? Well, the horses behind them are chasing them, and they can see them. They can't stop because the horses behind them will run over them, and they know it, so they got to keep moving forward. What happens to the horses in the rear rank? Well, they ain't paying attention because they're just looking at the butt in front of them, and they're following the herd. And you use the Dragoons like a battering ram, wham, and you go through a line of infantry with nothing but swords flashing and running people away. And you would think that wouldn't happen in the modern day, but I've actually ended up in a big line of infantry with him, and he was kind of hockey checking everybody out of the way. It was kind of fascinating. But yeah, does anybody have any questions on mounted Dragoons? Do you have any questions on the American Revolution in general? Anybody have any questions on anything? Yes, sir.
Where does the word dragoon come from?
Dragoon is a French word meaning mounted soldier. A dragoon was considered the initial concept of dragoons was you were to use a horse to get you to the battle. You would dismount, you have a musket, and you'd fight on the ground, right? And dragoons could be used to fight on the ground. In the American Revolution, it almost became kind of a bastardized term, right? Because the 3rd Dragoons and Tarleton's Legion in a lot of cases were used not as light horsemen, which were used for reconnaissance, used for, vedettes and used for guards and stuff like that. The Dragoons were used more as heavy cavalry, which William Washington's cavalry at Cowpens was straight up nothing but used as heavy cavalry, just to go whack other lines of infantry. But yeah, dragoon is a French term. You got to remember, the French at the time, they were one of the preeminent superpowers on the planet. It's now America and China. Back then it was England and France. They were the 2 superpowers, and we were kind of partial to the French. We wanted to, and the Americans kind of even wanted to look like the French. So we started using a lot of French terms. Still to this day, use a lot of French military terms in the modern military. A defilade, for example, is a French term. A defilade position meaning you're, below the ground. It's a defilade position. There's a lot of French terms that still translate over. Anything else? Anybody got any more questions? Yes, sir.
Can you explain the hat and why the feathers and
So, kind of where I was going with the French thing. Military uniforms follow a fashion. They just do, right? I was in the military for 25 years. And when we changed our uniform to a digital pattern uniform, guess what everybody else on the planet did? Changed their uniform to a digital pattern uniform. Why? Because you want to look cool. Well, the French were the cool guys. So we wanted to look cool. Well, the Brits and horsemen in general, you want to wear a helmet. So imagine this. This is a jacked leather helmet, like a jockey helmet, right? It's got a bill on it like a baseball cap, And the bear hide, this is bear fur. The bear fur is just to identify your unit. It's like, oh, he's a dragoon because he's wearing a dragoon helmet. And now the American dragoons wore a different style of helmet that had horsehair on it instead of bear fur that was white. Now, I remember I said a horse will move at about 25, 30 miles an hour, and you're going to whack each other 25, 30 miles an hour. One of the things you might want to know is who's good guy and who's bad guy. So it's also kind of an identify friend or foe thing. And that guy's wearing the wrong hat, I'm gonna hit him with my sword. So, but primarily fashion and function of wearing a helmet. Yeah, that's the big one. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
what about bayonets? You didn't mention that yet.
Bayonets and horses, that's a bad combination. That will stop us. That will stop us in a heartbeat. There was only there's one instance that that I know in South Carolina where the British actually formed a square, and that was at Hanging Rock, which was interesting because there wasn't that many horses at Hanging Rock. It was more like they were surrounded, so they formed square. But if we are attacking infantry, you got to be quick. That's one thing, is it's got to happen very fast, because if you allow the infantry time to get in a square and charge bayonets, imagine all of y'all in a square, everybody's facing out, everybody's got a musket with a bayonet out, and you're all holding it like this. And now you look like a prickly hedgehog fence, and a horse is going to be like, nope, not doing it, right? But the advantage to horses versus men on the ground is you got to be able to stand the fact I'm running at you. You got to have the discipline to be able to stand there and take it and hope that I'm not going to run over you. Just stand there and take it. What inevitably happens in a dragoon fight with infantry is the infantry turn around and try to run away, which is the absolute wrong thing to do. Because if you run from me, now it just became a fox hunt. Because now I'm just chasing you down and going boink, boink, and chasing them down. Because now it's a fox hunt. Now it's Now it's just running, you're just chasing, and there's no unit cohesion on the ground with the infantry. But yeah, bayonets are dragoons. That is the bane of our existence. But you better be disciplined and you better be fast. You better be quick being able to do it. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
What's to stop them from just shooting you off the horse?
Say again?
What's to stop them from just taking the rifle and shooting you off the horse?
Nothing.
So,
I'm moving fast.
But if we're in those ranks he's talking about, where it's four columns of four and they're 2 and 3 deep, yeah, you might take this first rank out. But when the mass of the horse is moving 25, 30 miles an hour.
Yeah.
What are you describing right now? Battle of the Waxhaws. Because what happened was Buford held his spot. Charlton came down off a hill. Imagine this, you're marching, you just found out Charleston got taken. Charleston just got taken. You're like, oh. Charleston being taken in the American Revolution was kind of like New York getting taken, right? The bad guys now own that territory. So Buford was turning around. He goes, well, I'm going to march back and go back to Virginia and maybe try to link back up with Washington. Charlton caught up with him. Charlton was on a hill looking down at him, and it looked like there's the Indians on the hill looking down at you. And all of Buford's guys are like, that's not good. And Buford was like, Charlton sent somebody down. Charlton gets such a bad rap. I love that guy. He gets a bad rap. He does. I would have worked for him. He was great. Anyway, Charlton's looking down, and sends an emissary down and says, hey, surrender and I'll give you your parole and lay down your arms and it's all good. And Buford was like, nope, not doing it. All right. He goes, well, we're going to attack. All right, bring it. Well, here come, Charlton said charge. Buford told his men, do not fire. Hold your fire until I give the command. That's great. Remember, musket shoots once. And it's going to take you approximately 20 seconds to reload it if you're fast, right? I can shoot a musket 4 or 5 times a minute with blanks. You're going to shoot a musket with a live round about 3 times a minute, maybe 4 times a minute. So they held their fire until the horses are at full charge. They held their fire to about 30 yards away. And when they're at 30 yards away, he said fire. Did he empty saddles? Yeah, he killed dragoons, but nothing stopped him. They went right through the middle of them. Boom, and it turned into Buford's massacre. It turned into a massacre. So what you got to understand is, all right, let me get on this path here. Hang on, bear with me. Who got told that the reason we won the American Revolution is because we hid behind rocks and trees, and the British stood out in big long lines wearing red, and they were stupid? Who got told that? You were lied to. All of you were lied to. Did it happen? Yes. Was there guerrilla fights? Yes. Was there a la petite guerre, as the French say? Yes. The rifle, the American long rifle that everybody touts so much, right? Did they exist? Yes, they existed. They existed. Everybody have one? No. An American long rifle was the equivalent of like buying a Mercedes. They were ridiculously expensive. You couldn't put a bayonet on them. And if you showed up with a rifle to the battle and all your buddies had rifles, you probably had 15 different calibers. So logistically, it was untenable to have a whole unit with rifles, right? Here's the bad part. Remember I told you I can load and fire a musket about 4 times a minute? It takes about 90 seconds to load and fire an American long rifle correctly, right? Because it takes a while. You got to patch the ball and get the ball down there, and you got to hammer it in just about. It takes a while. You fire that shot, I could come across this field, the length of this field long ways, in about 25 seconds. So you fire that shot, you better be behind something, or you better be hearing mama calling, because I'm coming for you. You better hit too. Muskets, smoothbore muskets were the most common weapon on the battlefield in the American Revolution. And the reason was, it was logistically tenable because everybody carried the same caliber, and you could load and fire it quickly. And you could put a bayonet on it. So when all else fails, you got a 6-foot pike with a bayonet on it, right? So now it becomes tactics of logistics, right? How fast can you load and fire? How fast can you resupply? and how fast can you maneuver, who's loaded, who's unloaded. It becomes almost a game of logistics and timing. So no, yeah, you know, on a charge, you're going to empty a couple of saddles. Roger that. You're going to empty a couple of saddles, but before it's over with, I'm going to be on you before you can reload. I'm going to be all over you before you can reload. So that's one of the big things about the American Revolution that's hard to. Yeah, it's a big thing about the American Revolution that's trying to help people understand is we only won the war when we started fighting the British the way the British fought us. When we started using the same tactics, techniques, and procedures, we started actually starting to win. How many battles did we actually win in the American Revolution? Anybody ever thought of that? Very, very, very few. I can name Cowpens and Saratoga, which were consummate victories. Kings Mountain, consummate victories. Guilford Courthouse, was it a victory? Not really. Even in Parliament, they said another such victory and we'll lose the war. Cornwallis lost 50% of his people at Cowpens, but he still didn't win. We still didn't win that battle. We still lost. We lost most of it. You had a question.
Yes. Were dragoons used in the North?
Very sparingly. You know, the North, as far as like up in Massachusetts and New York and places like that, very sparingly. And one of the reasons is up in the north, the agricultural base was a little more developed. So there was walls and fences, and it limited the mobility of the dragoon up north. So Washington raised 4 dragoon regiments, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th Dragoons. 4th Dragoons tended to stay up north, 3rd Dragoons ended up down here, 2nd Dragoons stayed up north, 1st Dragoons came down here and were formed in Virginia and ended up down here with the 3rd a lot. And of course you had Light Horse Harry Lee's Legion that were dragoons, but a lot of people like to say, oh, Light Horse Harry Lee. Well, name me a cavalry charge you ever did. Name me a cavalry charge Light Horse Harry Lee you ever did. So,
but the British Legion's from New York, and the guy, Captain Hook, who was on this field, was a New Jersey lawyer.
Yeah. Oh, I can name a cavalry charge.
What's that?
At the Battle of 96, he charged the fort in the town.
Yeah.
And he charged Augusta.
Well, that was militia. Minor militia. You're talking early 96 or you're talking late 96? 96 happened twice.
Late 96.
That was more of a siege, buddy.
I know.
More of a siege, buddy.
I've been to 96.
Oh, I've been there a lot.
I have a question.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to wrap it up. I'll take one more question. Yes, ma'am.
2 questions.
Oh, okay.
What breed of horse is this?
Oh my God. He's a horse. We've talked about it a lot. I think Rock here is a mix between an Arab and a quarter horse. So he's a Quarab. He's a quarter horse Arab cross.
And
He tends to move like an Arab.
The others?
Quarter horse thoroughbred cross. These 2 horses. This is Doc. He lives at my house too. And Doc is thoroughbred quarter horse cross, and we're pretty sure these 2 had the same mama. They're Irish twins. They had the same mama at one point, but 2 different daddies. But they've never been separated. These 2 have never been separated in their entire lives. Well, once for about a year, but we got them back together.
That white keeps rubbing your leg.
Yeah. Doc's a really touchy-feely horse. Trust me.
And the other question?
Yes, ma'am.
Why green?
Green was known as provincial green. The American loyalist forces were loyal to the crown, tended to be dressed in green. The British Legion wore green. Simcoe's Rangers, Queen's Rangers, the Queen's Rangers wore green. The New Jersey Volunteers, which were also a loyalist regiment, they were an infantry unit. They wore green. The American
Dragoons wore
white.
White, blue.
White. I mean, our 3rd Dragoons. The 3rd Dragoons. Every Dragoon regiment had its own uniform, For example, the 4th Dragoons wore a green coat with red facings. The 3rd Dragoons, what we do a lot of as well, wore a white coat with blue facings. The 2nd and the 1st Dragoons wore blue coat with red facings, like you would normally think of an American soldier wearing. But all of our coats for the 3rd Dragoons, the white and the blue, they all came from France. France was like, hey, there's a bunch of uniforms, have at it. And we're like, oh, we like these.
So all the green ones were loyalists.
Green was, that's what.
Loyalists.
Except for
Not
Harry
always.
Lee, who was from Virginia, who wore almost exactly
And
the
what-
same.
And the 4th Continental Dragoons.
And the 4th Continental Dragoons wore green and red.
And they
It's
used
very
it
confusing.
On the battlefield, they would, British Legion and Lee's Legion would fake the other side. They captured a bunch of loyalists, pretended